Hello. This is Hiro from Leathercraft School. Welcome to day 3 of intermediate course. In the last lesson, I introduced 2 leather knives and the essential tools for sharpening. And today, we will cover how to sharpen Japanese-style skiving knife using whetstones. My method is easy and simple to follow. So let's sharpen your leather knife together. Let's dive in. First, let's check the sharpness of this skiving knife before sharpening. I haven't sharpened it for a while, so let's see how well it cuts. Let's try cutting a piece of leather. As you can see, it doesn't cut cleanly in one cut. The blade is dull, which would make skiving difficult. Let's try skiving too. A dull blade will not skive the leather smoothly, which will affect your work. So let's go ahead and sharpen it. First, let's prepare the whetstones. First, soak your 2 whetstones and flatten stone in water for 2 to 3 minutes. Once you soak them, you will notice there are some small bubbles. I said to soak your whetstones for 2 to 3 minutes, but it depends on the type of whetstone, so please soak it until the whetstones stop bubbling. Once the stones hold enough water, we are ready to sharpen. For the first step, we will sharpen the backside of the blade using an 800 to 1000 grit whetstone. First, hold the knife like this. Place the flat side of the blade parallel to the whetstone and move it back and forth to sharpen about 1 inch or 2.5 cm from the blade's tip. The key point here is to keep the blade perfectly flat against the whetstone. Let's sharpen it for about 1 minute. Once you sharpen about 1 minute, step 1 is complete. Now, let's sharpen the front side of the blade. We will hold the knife at an angle and place the beveled edge against the whetstone like this. You might be wondering, how much should I angle the blade? To make this easier, let's use a marker trick. First, let's draw a line 1/4 inches or 7 mm from the edge with a marker. Adjust the angle of the blade so the marker line just touches the whetstone. And move the blade back and forth while keeping this angle. To check your progress, let's flip the blade over and see if the marker line is evenly removed. You can see this side is still visible, but not this other side is. If one side is still visible, it means your pressure is uneven. So let's adjust your hand positioning to apply pressure evenly to the blade. Once the marker line is gone, let's draw a new line at 1/8 inches or 3 mm from the edge. And repeat the same process. When you are done, let's check the backside of the blade. If you feel a slight bar or raised edge, that means the sharpening is complete. The third step is sharpening the edge with a 3000 grit whetstone. Using the same method, repeat the sharpening process with a 3000 grit whetstone to refine the edge. This will smooth out the surface and give the blade a sharp finish. Once you sharpen the knife with both whetstones, let's move on final step. For the final step, we will use a leather strop with metal polish. To make a strop, first, apply metal polish to the flesh side of a leather scrap. Add a small amount of sewing machine oil. Then spread it evenly. Once it's ready, let's polish the blade. Place the flat side of the blade against the strop and pull it back several times. Then, flip it over and pull it back to polish the front side. The final polishing step removes any remaining burrs and gives the blade more sharpness. Now, let's check the sharpness again. I can easily cut off 5-ounce or 2mm thick leather pieces smoothly. Let's try skiving too. Works perfectly. For daily use, I recommend keeping a leather strop nearby while cutting. If you feel the blade getting dull, use the strop frequently to maintain sharpness. That's all for today. How was the lesson? Sharpening might seem difficult at first, but as you saw today, it's simple. With practice, you can sharpen your knives with just 10 minutes. So please make sure to try method yourself. Also, I recommend using a marker trick for first few times. Applying even pressure while sharpening is crucial, so until you develop the feel for the angling of the blade, I recommend using a marker to guide your sharpening. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed today's lesson, please give me a like and subscribe for more Leathercraft tips. See you in the next lesson. Bye.